Welcome to R-Train Data. What I wanted to do today was to practice doing geocoding distances in R, and specifically using something called the Great Circle method, which uses some trigonometry functions like sine and cosine to calculate the distances between different latitude and longitude pairs. But at the same time, I also want to see what's happening with ChatGPT and see its capabilities in helping me out, troubleshooting, adding comments, whatever it is that ChatGPT does with our code. Because more and more as we get better at programming and math and statistics and data visualization, we also need to get better at the tools that are going to accompany that in order to really be efficient and productive. Okay, so ChatGPT, I'm going to give it a prompt. Can you give me the latitude and longitude coordinates for 5 major cities as an R data frame? I think this should be a pretty easy request given that this is AI we're working with. Okay, so it's giving this all as a data table, cities data. That works. Okay, city, lat, longitude for New York, London, Tokyo, Sydney, and Mexico City. Cool. But you can also use the dplyr data frame functions. Okay. So here it's giving 2 different methods. That's interesting. I only asked for 1 result, and here it's giving 2. It's giving the same thing twice. Cool. Okay. Let's try that again. So cities data, here we go. Cities data, I like that. Let's take a look at it. There we go, city, lat, and longitude. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to actually take cities data and call it cities data 1, and just chose the second column. Here, what I'm going to do actually instead is I'm going to take a collection of the first and second rows and all the columns and just save New York and London. And for cities data 2, I'm going to do the opposite of that. I'm going to take 3, 4, 5. Now I have cities data 1 and cities data 2, and they should be different cities, 1 and 2. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take cities data 1, I'll bind columns to cities data 2. Could not find function. Okay, so I need to load the tidyverse package. And bind cause y. Dplyr bind cause. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Cities bind columns. The sizes don't match. Okay, that makes sense. So let's just choose 2 of them. In order to bind the columns, has to have the same number of rows. Okay. New York and London on one hand, Sydney and Mexico on the other. Now the names have gotten a bit messed up because I spliced 2 different data frames together with the same set of names. Let's save this as cities data. Go back to our original cities data. And now cities data, what I'm going to do is fix the names. And I'm not saying that this is the best way that you should keep a set of information, but I'm just using it to test out the Great Circle method for geocoding. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. what I'm doing here is a very inefficient way of changing the names. So city, I'm going to say cities 1. And here is going to be latitude 1. This next one I'm going to do longitude 1. This next one I'm going to do cities 2, latitude 2, and here is longitude 2. And that line of code. I'm on a Mac, so I hit Command Return, and here we go. So I have New York and London with the latitude, longitude, cities, latitude, longitude. And now I am going to take my cities data and put it through this pre-built code that I already have. So this is the great circle method. It should calculate the distances between two latitude and longitude pairs. What you do is you take your latitude and longitude, you first multiply it by pi and divide it by 180. This, what it does here is it turns into radians. And then you create the distances between 2 points by taking the sine of the latitude of latitude 1 and multiplied by the sine of latitude 2. And you do the same with the cosine. And then you also have to take the cosine of longitude 2 minus the cosine of, so this is actually a mistake, latitude 2. It should be longitudes here. Longitude of 1, the product of one minus the other. And then finally what you have to do is you multiply by some kind of scaling factor. Here I have the radius of the Earth in miles, so this is going to give me the answer in miles. So let's run this code and see what happens. Geocode data frame. Where is Geocode data frame? I can pull that up in the console, and it should give me the distances between the 2 points in miles. 9,000 miles. Between New York and Sydney, 9,000. That can't be right. So that's interesting. I don't think that there's an error in my code, but let's see. Let's see. Let me first of all just test ChatGPT. Let's say if I take latitude of 2 minus longitude, what would happen? Help, there is an error in my R code. Let's see if it recognizes the great circle method. Cities data doesn't have names, longitude, latitude, longitude. Okay, so that's kind of super weird. Error message. How does it know what my city's data frame looks like? Oh, I see, because it's following the same thread from above, cities data. Help, there is an error in my R code. Here, I'm not going to use cities data. I'm going to say data frame, df, because it was trying to identify that the thread of the conversation, but I had changed cities data in the meantime. So let's see if it says something else. It looks like the error is caused by the fact that the data frame does not have columns. Oh, so that's not very interesting, huh? If you want to calculate the distance between the 2 points based on lat and longitude in a data frame, you will need to have those columns in your data frame. Very annoying. Okay, let's try this. Dput. You can always say dput for a data frame, and it should print out to the console the structure of that data frame. That's really useful for Stack Overflow. Help, there is an error in my code. Here's my data frame. I'm treating this like a Stack Overflow post now. I'm giving ChatGPT the ability to look at my data frame because it's so convinced that the columns aren't right. But I think that is not what's going on. Remember, I created an error here. I put latitude 2 where it should be longitude 2. The error message you are seeing is likely caused by the fact that the operation you're performing is based on a wrong formula. Okay. The a cosine function calculates the arc cosine, which is the inverse of the cosine. It's not the correct function to calculate the distance between 2 points on Earth. The correct formula is the Haversine formula. That does use the arc cosine, so I'm not 100% certain. Sine of longitude. Yeah, okay, so it corrected the error, but it didn't. Weird, okay, right? So ChatGPT corrected the error in my code, but it it told me I did something else wrong. Distance 2 times a sine square root. Let's see here. All right, let's give this a shot. Let's see. Cities, data, mutate. We'll save that as Geocode data frame. Let's see what it does now. Geocode data frame. Now, okay, so it's giving me the same sort of thing. Is it missing a parenthesis? Geocode data frame 2. Let's make sure it's showing up different. Yeah, strange. Okay. So yeah, it's giving me the distance between New York and Sydney as being 9,900 miles. Okay. What is the distance between New York and Sydney? The distance between New York and Sydney is 10,974 miles. What did it give me here? 9,938. That's actually not so terrible. You know, these latitude and longitude pairs are very touchy. They're very, very specific numbers. You adjust that over just a bit, and the formula, taking the trig functions and then multiplying by the radius of the Earth, it goes through a couple transformations. It does have the opportunity to become wrong at a couple different steps, just a little bit more wrong each time. So that's interesting. It's actually still talking to me in our code, which is really interesting. It's still giving me these trig formulas. So why might great circle method be wrong in calculating distances? Let's see. Because I'm talking that out, like, hey, why is the formula 800 miles wrong? The great circle method, also known as the Haversine formula, widely used method. Earth's surface is not a perfect sphere. Okay, the great circle method assumes a perfect sphere. So yeah, Richard Feynman said, why is the Earth a circle? Because it's round. Or why is the Earth a circle? Because of gravity. And why is it not a circle? Because of gravity, because it's spinning. And timed out ChatGPT. Oh well, but that's interesting. Earth not completely round. Well, okay, I'm overall impressed. I think this has lots of potential. And back to R real fast. If you want to learn how to geocode distances, there's a lot of opportunity to do that. What you do is you take a data frame with the latitude and longitude pairs, or you construct different kind of code, different structure a little bit. But let's say you have a data frame that has 2 cities with 2 different latitude and longitudes. You subtract, you take the sine and the cosine. Let's do this one. This one was the same. But the sine of latitude 1 times the sine of latitude 2, cosine of latitude 1 times the cosine of latitude 2, multiplied by the difference between the latitude 2 minus the longitude 1. Sorry guys. Longitude 2. Latitude, longitude 2, longitude 1. And then you multiply by either the radius of the Earth in miles or the radius of the Earth in kilometers to get your result. But remember, you have to multiply by pi divided by 180 first to convert to radians before you can use the trig functions. Hope this was helpful. Very interesting ChatGPT.